AEW. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you already know who they are, and what they're all about. I've been watching them since 2019 on and off. I don't watch Dynamite week to week, but I have seen highlights, I watch clips here and there, especially of like MJF's promos. I'm a big fan of his work. So when I found out that AEW Fight Forever was a thing, and when I found out especially that it was being developed by Yukes and published by THQ, it honestly made me want to bust a nut. No, but seriously, when I heard that Yukes was developing an arcade-style wrestling game with the AEW roster, my interest was immediately piqued. Here's the thing, I've been playing Yukes developed wrestling games for a significant portion of my life. I mean, I spent a lot of my early years playing SmackDown vs. Raw on the PlayStation 2. You know, the early SVR games, SVR 2010, SVR 2011, and just having an absolute blast with them. And honestly, they know how to make fun, dumb, arcade-style wrestling games. And considering how AEW in the past has done, like, crazy stipulation matches, I feel like it worked. And suffice it to say, after getting my hands on the game, I've really been enjoying what I've played so far. I mean, the gameplay is a blast, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. So, my name is Flute, and this is my review of AEW Fight Forever. Now let's talk about AEW Fight Forever's roster. You get basically all of the big names from AEW, including Cody Rhodes, which is crazy to think about because he's in the WWE 1, and he's also playable in WWE 2K23, so it's actually kind of cool to have him in two different games. Anyway, the roster is pretty solid, although there are some notable names missing. Off the top of my head, I can name, Saraya, the AEW, Women's World Champion Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, The Acclaim, The Guns. But honestly, considering the fact that this is like a game that's going to continuously be updated with updates, I think they're just going to start adding them in. I hope as free DLC, because that would be freaking awesome. But yeah, so solid enough roster. Notable names missing, but honestly, I feel like there's enough time to add these people into the game. And there's even more potential to add like ROH guys, New Japan guys, considering Forbidden Door. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential with this roster, and it's not too bad coming out of the gate. Alright, now let's talk about this game's entrances and graphics, a point of contention with many IWC wrestling fans. Here's the thing, guys. The game isn't trying to go for a simulation-style appearance, so you're not going to get these super realistic models like you would in a game like WWE 2K, for example. The game is an arcade-style game, so the guys are reminiscent of an arcade-style game, where the graphics aren't necessarily super polished, but I don't think the game looks bad. I like the game's presentation. It's very colorful, the character models look like the wrestlers they're representing, and honestly, the entrances are quite cool. I mean, you can modify the pyro with the face buttons, which is really cool. I don't think I've ever seen that done in a wrestling game, so yeah, I like the entrances. But as they say, graphics don't make a game, it's the gameplay that makes the game. So, how is AEW Fight Forever's gameplay? It is a lot of fun. A huge part of this game's advertising and what they were trying to sell people with is that the gameplay is reminiscent of WWF No Mercy. Which, here's the thing, and I feel like this is why my perspective could be a little bit different from a lot of the other reviewers. I've actually never played No Mercy. I've played the old SVR games, so that's kind of my only real point of reference as to how I could comment on the gameplay. So, I will say this, it does play like an old school WWE game. I mean, the controls are very simple. You get your basic attack button, you get your basic grapple button, you can modify the grapple by holding the A button, because I'm playing on Xbox, and again, the controls really aren't all that complicated. Somebody who's trying to get into the game could probably end up getting into the game and having serious games by like their fourth or fifth game of playing, because the controls really are that simple. But they do take some getting used to, and there's some mechanics in the game that I'm not really a very big fan of. For starters, the buffs. The buffs are a cool concept, and I kind of like the idea that the match could like change in the blink of an eye because of like a sudden buff, but I don't know, man. Sometimes it feels a little bit cheap, especially the bailout buff. I mean, you could kind of use it whenever you want, so it's like if you're getting your ass kicked in a match, you could literally just like tap R3 and like be out of the ring. Like I don't know. Something about that to me just feels very cheap. And I mean, I've even used it myself, and I can confirm it's pretty cheap. I mean, that. I'm not a big fan of the unyielding pose buff either. The fact that it just kind of like makes you impervious to certain melee attacks. I mean, like I said, I think the buffs are a cool concept and they're a nice addition to gameplay, but I think the fact that like you don't always have to reverse, you just kind of get these buffs. Like I don't know, I don't really know how to feel about it. I don't necessarily hate them, but I don't know. I feel like I could do without them honestly. But yeah, I mean, the reversals feel satisfying enough. I wish there was like a reversal indicator, like in the 2K games, that kind of tells you when you can reverse, or if the reversal was successful. I mean, you can turn on in settings like a little like reversal thing on the HUD that like has like how do I explain it? It's like a ping effect when you use it. But yeah, I mean, besides that, I'll say that yeah, the gameplay is a lot of fun. It's not too difficult to get into, and I feel like anyone can basically pick up and play the game, which is something that can't really be said about the WB2K games with the more complex controls. So yeah, AEW Fight Forever gameplay is pretty solid and a lot of fun. Alright, now it's time to talk about this game's bread and butter, the Road to Elite mode. And I'm extremely mixed about it. Here's the thing. On your very first playthrough, it's actually quite entertaining. There's mini games, there's sightseeing, little activities you can do between your matches, and you're essentially leveling up your guy with like skill points. So very reminiscent of, and I hate to keep bringing this up or referencing it, but the older SmackDown versus Raw games, like the Road to WrestleManias, for example, when you're playing with the Creator Wrestler. And quite honestly, I would recommend playing this mode with the Creator Wrestler. I mean, because it's kind of designed in that way, because you kind of end up using your skill points to give them certain abilities. But when you're playing with an established AEW roster member, like for example, in this gameplay I'm playing as Adam Cole, it's just weird because you don't get to really upgrade their skills or give them any new abilities. You just kind of play as them and earn skill points without really being able to use them, except for like minor buffs that can be bought with like the chips, I think, if I remember correctly. Like you can buy like momentum or the ability to use you like special for a week, like beginning the match on special momentum. But yeah, it's a fun mode, but it gets like really repetitive, especially with the blocks. I mean, the block idea seemed like a cool idea, and on my second or third gameplay, I was able to play like one different block, which is like the exploding barbed wire deathmatch block, which I will talk about that match a little bit later on, but yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just not too crazy about this mode. Now, sure, it is replayable. It does have replayability, because you could basically play this mode with any member of the AEW Fight Forever roster. Even though, like I said, you really should just play it with the Creator Wrestler, because you just don't get nearly the same experience playing, not to be too repetitive here, but playing as an already established roster member. Because, like I said, you just can't, like, give them certain abilities that you normally would using those skill points. But, as I mentioned a couple seconds ago, this mode has little side activities, little diversions that you could do in between matches. So it's not just, you playing a match, you getting XP, then playing another match. Like you could play mini games, for example, which the mini games in this game are actually quite enjoyable. My favorite one has to be like the baseball one, which I don't think I have recorded, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was like a fun idea, and even though the mini games probably won't be for everybody, I kind of heard that there was like some pushback about them online, like whether or not people thought that they belonged in a wrestling video game. I think that little diversions like this being added to season modes make them a lot more enjoyable because I mean you're gonna end up playing a lot of matches back to back to back to back to back. So if you're just playing matches and that's all you're doing, you're eventually gonna get tired. So it's nice to be able to have variety in this mode. So, all in all, Road to Elite is okay. I mean, it's a passable enough season mode, once again, if you're playing with a creator wrestler. Because you could, like, basically level them up playing this mode, and then, when you use them in exhibition mode, you end up having, like, your upgraded guy or gal who can be, played with, full upgraded abilities and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm just not too crazy about Road to Elite. Now, I want to end this review by talking about this game's biggest mode, in my honest opinion, the Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch. This match is fucking awesome. It is such a cool concept. Now, of course, we all know what happened with Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley in the actual Exploding Barbed Wire death match. And this game, well, I'd imagine this is what AEW wanted the match to be. Because this is pure carnage. I mean, dude, people, you can make someone bleed in this mode, you can throw them into the exploding barbed wire. It has a really cool exploding effect where your opponent gets shocked. I mean, I absolutely love this mode. It's honestly my favorite mode in the entire game. And as much as I really, really like this mode, um, it's kind of a problem with this game. There's not a whole lot of game modes. I mean, besides this match, and of course the fact that they're also adding Stadium Stampede at the time of this video being recorded, I mean, you get a lot of basic matches. I mean, there's not even a steel cage. So, this game's limited modes is kind of a little bit of a buzzkill, but this mode on its own is just a blast. And I feel like if you get your hands on this game, I would highly recommend you give the Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch a shot, because you are going to have so much fun. And before I forget to say it, dude, you could do intergender matches in this game. Like, insane. Like, such a crazy thought. The WWE games don't let you do that, so the fact that you could do that in this game is a really, really cool idea. But yeah, Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch. It's as awesome as you're seeing, it's as awesome as you've heard, and you would really, really like it if you played it. So yeah, definitely the highlight of this game, and honestly, one of my favorite modes in a wrestling game, period. So overall, I really like AEW Fight Forever. It's a really fun game. I mean, the gameplay is awesome, solid enough roster. Road to Elite is okay after a couple playthroughs, not so much, but honestly, what Yukes has developed is a really strong foundation for something special in the future. And like I said, if we get like those DLC wrestlers added, like the people I mentioned at the top of the video, and some more game modes, like a steel cage match, like Stadium Stampede, this game could be a very, very dangerous contender in the wrestling game market. And I'm just so excited to see where this game goes in the future. So yeah, I'm glad I played it, and you should definitely get your hands on it as well. My name is Flute. This has been my review of AEW Fight Forever. If you liked what you've been hearing, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you later.